Torah guardian, speaking the absolute truth. Torah nation.
Shalom, shalom, Yasharal, Yahudah, grafted in Gentiles into the body of Hamashiach. The song is entitled Jerusalem by Hezekiah. I don't own the rights to this music. Jerusalem. I want to go home. I want to go back to the place where it began for us, our ancestors. I want to go back to the established kingdom of Yahuwah. I am about serving Yahuwah. I am about the witness of Yahuwah. For I received the witness of Abba, the word and the Ruach HaKodesh and the Shamayim. And I received the witness of the Ruach HaKodesh, the baptism, water, and the blood. That is the only way I am going to make it back home. Yahuah, in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, I give you praise. I give you praise for the mystery of Yeshua, the restoration of a kingdom in the earth. Yahuah, through faith in Hamashiach, giving us your Ruach, your spirit, your seed to establish us as eternal participants in the kingdom of Yahuwah. Yahuwah, I give you praise. I give you praise for the Basora of truth made flesh. I give you praise for the words that you have given him. He has given me, and I have received it in obedience. I kept his word. I believed Yahusha when he said, and ye shall receive power after the Ruach HaKodesh has come upon you to be witnesses. Yahuwah, I received the Ruach HaKodesh. I give you praise. Yahuwah, I'm asking you by the Ruach HaKodesh to take the reins of my lips and the reins of my tongue and reign. Yahuwah, I'm asking you in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach to keep that which I committed unto you, this Basora, this Torah. Yahuwah, I'm asking you to keep me from injuring a one, causing someone to be turned out of the way, to come up lame, Yahuwah, to fall away from Yahusha. Yahuwah, in the name of Yahusha, lead me by your Ruach. Take the reins, Yahuwah. I don't want to cause anyone to stumble. I don't want to cause anybody to fall. Yahuwah, I just give you praise for your Ruach HaKodesh. I praise you for your Ruach HaKodesh, Yahuwah. I praise you for your Ruach HaKodesh, Yahuwah. Yahuwah, I give you praise. I give you praise. I give you praise. Yahuwah, restore your people in Yahusha HaMashiach's witness. Restore your people in the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach. Restore your people in the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach. Quicken, awaken your people, Yahuwah, those that you have chosen, those that you have called. Quicken, make alive, Yahuwah. Yahuwah, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. Listen. In order to make it, we have to receive his Ruach HaKodesh. To be established in his kingdom, you have to receive Yahusha's witness. to be in the city, in the place that Yahuah has established his kingdom, you have to have received his witness. Having received the seed of Yahuah and Yahusha on the inside of you in order to participate in his kingdom. You have to have the Ruach HaKodesh. You have to have the Ruach HaKodesh. I have a desire to be with Yahuah and Yahusha. I have a desire to spend eternity in his kingdom. I've received his witness in preparation of being a part of an eternal kingdom that comes with inheritance. I look to the Shamayim because that's where my inheritance is. Yahusha in the Shamayim on the right hand of Yahuah. His kingdom come. I look for that. I don't build for this natural, this earthly, this life. I don't clamor and pursue it with the vigor of those that are lost. Jerusalem by Hezekiah. Again, I don't own the rights to this music. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, listen. You have to understand this mystery that Yahuah has established from the foundation of the earth. And in order to understand it, you have to receive the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach, right? You have to have the Ruach HaKodesh of truth quicken this revelation, this revealed knowledge on the inside of you, right? Yahusha has always had a plan to establish a kingdom in the Eretz. Always. He gave it unto Adam and Havah and told them to put the kibosh down. But they gave up what they had. They gave up their El status. They were made in the image and the likeness of Yahuah, Yahusha, and the Ruach HaKodesh. Genesis 1:26, and Elohiym said, let us make man in our image. They made Adam and Havah in their image, after their likeness. They were given one Torah. One Torah. They did not know good and evil. So there was no need for an extended set of laws to govern anything because they were already established in the image of Yahuah. All they had to do was not eat of the tree. One Torah. You should not eat of the tree that is in the midst of the garden, the tree that is of the knowledge of good and evil. This is the mystery. Yahuah had established a kingdom in the Eretz, but Adam and Havah yielded their position to Hasatan, who had fell from the Shamayim, who had now had dominion in the marine kingdom, and probably at one time had dominion in the earth where it was chaos. And Yahuah, right, destroyed it. In the creation, there is an establishing of bringing back up out of what was under. Yahuah caused the earth to rise out of the sea, out of the water. He established the utterance and gave Adam and Yahuah dominion. Hasatan, the Ruach, that now worketh in the children of disobedience. Hasatan, convinced of a lie. She yielded up in an act of disobedience to the one Torah that Yahuah gave her. Don't eat of the tree. Don't even touch it. The mystery. Yahusha knew and understood that he was going to have to be the one to reestablish Yahuwah's kingdom in the earth the way that he originally had established and intended for it to operate. He had to establish a people. Whole earth slipped off in wickedness. There was one righteous man. His name was Noah. And Yahuah took him and hid him in an ark, providing him Yeshua and his 3 sons and their wives. The mystery. Yahuah knew that he was going to have to establish a people from amongst the people. It's a mystery. Yahuah chose he chose Avraham to put his name. Avraham chose not to worship idols, but follow in the steps of his father Shem and his grandfather Noah. His grandfather Shem and his great-grandfather Noah. Avraham. He didn't go in the way of his father Terah. He didn't go in the way of Ham. He didn't go in the way of Japhet. He became an established people. And Yahuah made a covenant with him and with his seed. Come on, you know the story. You understand that Avraham had Yitzhak and Ishmael. And Yitzhak had Jacob and Esau. And Jacob had the 12 tribes. The established lineage, the established kingdom, the established people of Yahuah. This mystery was hid. Yahuah raised up a people that he led into Mitzrayim, that went into bondage, that he delivered out of bondage, and he established an order of instructions, a Torah, right? and there was a Torah after. There was a Torah, there was a word, there was commandments, even under Avraham. There was Torah, there was commandments. But Yahuwah established a Torah and a commandment before the people that he had chosen to give them an idea of what the kingdom of Yahuwah was to look like. In and out, 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 in bondage, out of bondage, under the dominion of their enemies, out delivered. Yahuwah, as long as they called on him, he delivered them. It's not the way Yahuwah wanted it, right? He wanted a people that was going to be committed and devoted, and there was only one way to get that accomplished, and that was through the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach. Yahuwah's word, his Torah, his Besorah made flesh. This is a mystery. Yahusha knew it from the time that Adam and Ava had sinned. Yahuwah knew the time that he was going to bring it to pass, but Yahusha knew, because everything is still Yahuwah's time. Everything is still Yahuwah's time. Yahusha told the disciples, when the kingdom is restored, only the Father knows. Yahuwah knows. This witness is what's going to establish you in the kingdom of Yahuwah. And you have to be committed to this witness. You have to receive this witness. You have to receive this Torah, this Besorah. You have to receive Yehukanan's witness. Yehukanan said, I know him because Yahuwah has said when he comes up out of the water, having received the Ruach HaKodesh, yeah, that's him. That's the one that's going to restore the order. That's the one that's going to establish the kingdom. That's the one that's going to give you the Ruach HaKodesh. That's what's going to establish you in the kingdom of Yahuwah and Allah. Make no mistake about it. You have to have the Ruach HaKodesh. 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 Listen, we're going to finish up Colossians today. Yahuwah said to finish Colossians. We're going to finish up Colossians. So we're in Colossians, right? The 3rd chapter, right? And again, as I have reiterated on several occasions, the similarities that exist in the letters are primarily due to the similarities of issues that arise among the Gentiles converts, right? The Gentile converts didn't have a Torah. They didn't have a Torah. They didn't have a relationship with Yahuwah. They didn't have laws, statutes, and commandments. They didn't have none of that. And yet Yahuwah still wanted them to receive her, to participate, right? To be that grafted in wild olive branch, right? If they would choose to receive the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach and then obey what Yahuwah has commanded. So we know that the Apostle Paul was talking about mortifying your members. We know that he was talking about the need to renew your mind, to be renewed, right? We understand that in order to be purified, to remain purified from the influences of Hasatan, even having received the Ruach HaKodesh, you have to keep the Besorah and the Torah of truth before you. You have to. You have to keep the Torah. You have to keep the Besorah of truth before you. You ain't gonna make it without it, right? Because you're gonna quench the Ruach. And when you quench the Ruach, guess what? There ain't nothing else for you. You're gonna eventually spiral out of control. You have to be renewed in your mind, in your soul, in your nefesh. Your nefesh has memories. It has emotions that must be governed by the Ruach HaKodesh and the Torah and the Besorah of truth. So, we got as far as the 18th verse, right? And what we are going into is just the relationships between people. Again, this is similar to what we have received in Ephesians, right? So you're going to hear the same language, right? Because there's nothing that's new under the sun. It's the same language, right? It's spoken differently. It's written slightly differently, but it's the same language. It's the same intent. It's the same purpose, right? He says, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands. And you understand that submission. Submission from love. Submission from devotion. You submit unto your own husband. You don't submit unto another man above and beyond what you submit to your own husband. You don't go to another man for understanding. You go to your husband for understanding. That's the submission, right? You don't submit yourself to an elder before you submit yourself to your own husband. You don't submit yourself to a more than you submit yourself to your husband. Now, Yahuah said, the Apostle Paul said, submit yourself to your own husband. Submit to your own husband. Submit to your own husband, not to another man. Another man should never have advice over you apart from your husband. Now listen, right? You have unbelieving spouses, right? Unbelieving spouses. And you need to honor that spouse. You married him, right? Right? Maybe you came into the awakening afterwards. Maybe he doesn't want any part of the awakening. Maybe he doesn't fight you over your participation in the awakening. Maybe, all he wants you to do is to love him, render your due benevolence, and make sure he eats and his clothes are washed. Whatever it is, right? You are to submit to that. That's what Yahuah expects from you, right? He expects that from you. Now he says, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husband, not to somebody else's husband, to your own husband, not to some elder, but your own husband. Now listen. This doesn't mean that there's not an order in the church, there's not an order in the assembly, because there is. Elders, leaders, mores are to be honored and reverenced and respected. But no elder, no more, no teacher is going to teach or tell you to do anything that does not honor your husband, right? Now, listen. If your husband is beating you, right, you ain't got to submit to no whooping. If your husband is abusing you sexually, you don't have to submit to that. If your husband is abusing you, right, you don't have to submit to that, right? That ain't fit. There's nothing fit about that. Right? He said, husbands, as is his fit. Right? Listen, it ain't a fit thing for your husband to beat you upside your head. That ain't fit. You ain't got to submit to that. You know this man is an adulterer. This man is an abuser. Listen, you ain't got to submit to that. You don't have to submit to that. That ain't fit in Yahuah. Yahuah ain't never told you to take a whooping from a husband. He said, husbands, love your wives. He ain't beating you if he love you. If he say he love you, or I love you, you made me give you that speed knot. What? He don't love you. He said, Yahuah told the husbands to love their wives and not be bitter against them, right? Don't be embittered. Listen. Sometimes women, you can make a man bitter. But Yahuah demands that you love her and don't allow that. Because if you love her in Yahusha, right, you're not going to allow yourself to become bitter. If you love her in Yahuah, you're not going to cause her to be bitter. She ain't going to cause you to be bitter. Listen, wives, submit to your own husband as it is fit, right? It ain't fit when you getting your brains beat out. It ain't fit when he breaking your arms and you walking around with shiners on your eyes and your lips swole. That ain't fit. 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 It ain't fit as if he's raping you and he's sexually... Listen. Let me tell you something, right? Right? Marriage is honorable and all in the bed undefiled, right? It is, right? Whoremongers and adulterers, Yahuah will judge, right? But rendering your due benevolence is not being raped. Rendering your due benevolence is not being abused sexually. That ain't fit. 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 No, that ain't fit. No, there's nothing in the in here that would suggest that that's fit. Because he says to the husbands to love your wives. You ain't loving your wife if you're abusing her. You're not loving your wife if you beating her. You ain't loving your wife if you ain't allowing yourself to be bitter. Listen. You have to understand that this is what you do in the Ruach HaKodesh. Right? This is what you do in the Ruach HaKodesh. You submit to your husband in the Ruach HaKodesh as it is fit. The Ruach HaKodesh, and you gonna tell you now, you ain't got to get all them speed knots. No, you ain't got to be abused. You ain't got no. Any man telling you, yeah, you need to stay there. No, you stay there for me. Yeah, you take my place. Oh no. Because listen, abuse is something that escalates. You know, it escalates. It goes from shouting, right? It goes to grabbing. It goes to shoving. It goes to slapping. It goes to punching. Yeah. It goes to kicking. Listen. It's a progression. Because you have to understand how Satan is about violence. He is not the Ruach of Yahuah. He is not the love of Yahuah. He is motivated by violence. You don't have to stay there. It ain't fit. And husbands, you better love your wives as Yahusha loved the church. Because that's what Paul said in the book in Ephesians. But he's just highlighting it here. He's like, okay, listen, husbands, love your wives. Now, you have to understand, he's talking about in the Ruach HaKodesh. He's talking about in the Ruach HaKodesh. He's talking to people who have received Yahuwah's witness, Yahusha's witness, who have the Ruach HaKodesh, who should be able to do these things. If they struggle with them, then they need to mortify their members, right? Mortify them. But listen, if he putting his hands on you, he ain't got the Ruach HaKodesh. No, he ain't got the Ruach HaKodesh. And if you do have the Ruach HaKodesh and he seems to get really super angry, listen, you need to pray for him. Your elders need to pray for him. And he needs to be in the Basor and the Torah of truth. And he needs to submit himself to the Ruach HaKodesh. Same thing with the woman. Listen, he says, children obey parents in all things. Obey your parents in all things. Now, your parents have the Ruach HaKodesh, right? Obey your parents in all things. Now, listen, if you got a parent that love Yahuwah and Yahusha, right? You need to obey them because, first of all, they have Yahuwah's Ruach in them. And when you go against Yahuwah's Ruach, and when you go against Yahuwah's Torah, you put yourself at risk. Listen, in the original covenant, man, children were stoned for their acts of disobedience. Oh, yeah, Yahuwah no, we ain't tolerating that because they're the next seed. They're the next generation. And if this is in them now, guess what? That needs to be put down. Listen, children, obey your parents in all things. In all things, because they're your parents. And if they have the Ruach HaKodesh, they're going to do what's best for you. In all things. Right? In all things. For this is well-pleasing in Yahuwah. Right? Now listen. If your parents are not believing, right? Say your father abuses you physically and sexually, right? No. You ain't got to submit to that. No. You better tell somebody. You better let an elder know. You better let a Moreh know. You better let an Ima know. You better let somebody know. Yeah, because that's got to be dealt with. That's a vile spirit. Oh yeah. No, children, no. If you have parents that are unbelieving, right, and you love Yahuwah, you love Yahuwah, right? But you go home and you go to an unbelieving father and a believing mother, right? And your unbelieving father wants to take sexual liberties. No, you better tell somebody. You better tell your mother. You better tell your elder. You better tell somebody who's got some power, some authority to correct that thing. Yeah. Correct that thing. See, now listen. In the kingdom of Yahuwah, that'll be dealt with. Oh, no. No. In the kingdom, first of all, in the kingdom of Yahuwah, you're going to be moving by the Ruach HaKodesh. Now, there are going to be other nations, there are going to be other people that are going to grow and come up. But listen, let me tell you something. The order and the structure and the discipline that occurs is going to be conducted by those that have the Ruach HaKodesh. And listen, ain't no tolerance for wickedness. No tolerance for wickedness. So yeah, you obey your parents in all things. If your parents have the Ruach HaKodesh. Now, even if your parents don't have the Ruach HaKodesh, but they're good to you, right? Because, you got some people that just good parents. They receive nothing but what they received from their parents. And, it was good training. Sometimes they may tell you not to do a thing. right? They may not have a Ruach HaKodesh, but they still your parents. They ain't asked you to do nothing. They ain't did you no harm. They ain't did you no violence. Obey your parents in all things. Why? Because this is well-pleasing to Yahuwah. You're going to do it because it pleases Yahuwah. Pleases Yahuwah, right? Excuse me. He says, fathers, provoke not your children. Right? Provoke not your children. You have the Ruach of Yahuwah on the inside of you. Don't provoke your children. Don't do those things that cause your children to be angry and discouraged. Because that'll come back and bite you. Oh yeah, that'll come back and bite you. You have to reverence and respect your position that Yahusha has established for you, Yahuwah, as a father. Right? Yahuwah loved his son, Yahusha. Wouldn't do anything. Right? Anything. Right? Yahusha laid down his life for his brethren because his father, who was righteous, asked him to. Fathers, provoke not your children. You don't want them discouraged. That word in the Greek,
Strong's G120, athumeo.
Athumeo. You don't want them to be disheartened. You don't want to break their spirit. You don't want to break them. You don't want to break. Right? You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. He says, servants, employees, obey in all things your masters or those who you work for according to the flesh. Right? You work for them, serving them. That's what you do. That's what your job is in the flesh. Your work is physical work. Whatever it is, you have to do it by the sweat of your brow. You have an employer. You have someone that you have accountability to, right? And you are to obey what he asks you to do. Obey in all things, masters, according to the flesh, not with eye service as pleasing men, but in singleness of heart, fearing Yahuwah. So listen, you do it because you love Yahuwah and you have his Ruach in you, right? And you don't do it to please men, but you do it because it's what Yahuwah would expect from you, right? Would expect from you, right? Now you have some bosses, right? You have some people that you are employed with or you work for, man, and they just straight up idiots. I mean, some of them, especially those who don't have the Ruach HaKodesh. If you have the Ruach HaKodesh, the expectation is that though your service that's being rendered to you is service, you receive it ruachally, right? What your servants do, you treat them the way that Yahuwah would expect you to, right? You would entreat them, right? Though they work on your behalf, you don't mistreat them. You don't withhold wages for them. You don't connive and plot against them. Servants, obey in all things your masters. Now listen. Understand, in all things is reference to those who have received the Ruach, the witness, right? Because the understanding is they are going to have you do those things which are right. Now, if you have an employer that wants you to lie, you have an employer that wants you to steal, you have an employer that wants you to hide his embezzlement, now you got to obey him. Oh no, you don't have to obey him. You don't have to obey him now. It may cost you your job. You don't have to obey him. It may cost you your job. But you rather suffer for righteousness than obey a wicked master that has you to do something that is outside of the Torah, the Besorah that you have received from Yahuah the Mashiach. Right? Servants. Now listen, this can also, I know in some, and let me see if it's translated slave, right?
Strong's G 1401, doulos.
Doulos, right?
Doulos.
So it's a slave or a bondsman or man of servile condition, right? Now, you have to understand that servitude was a common practice, right? People would sell themselves into servitude, right, to cover a debt, right? Some people would sell themselves into servitude in order to make sure that they maintained the roof over their family's head, right? Some people would become servants, and after a time, right, because their servitude or their time of servitude was say it was 7 years. That 7 years was Jubilee, right? They would be allowed to go free, and they would go free with substance that they were given by brews. Brews that went into servitude with brews, they were to be taken care of, right? Now, Yahuah never wanted us to go into slavery with one another. But if you wanted to cover a debt, you had a debt you needed to cover, then you would go into servitude, right? Now, on some occasions, say after the time expired for the servitude, right, these individuals felt a sense of loyalty and appreciation for how they were treated, right? They would permanently put themselves into servitude, right? Because they would still be working, but they would still be, and they'd be taken care of, and their families taken care of. Their, they wanted to remain, right? So they would literally take a nail, I believe it's a nail, and nail it into their right earlobe, into the door, right? I mean, it sounds kind of brutal, but it was an establishment of a permanency with this owner, right? And Yahuwah's expectation was as this man has yielded up his life in servitude, right? You could not mistreat him or his family, right? The expectation is that you would do right by them. So amongst the nation, right, we had a different understanding of how we treated slaves or servants, right? We just couldn't do them any kind of way because all they had to do was call on Yahuah, and Yahuah would judge us for it. So, I mean, it behooved you to obey Yahuwah's Torah and to treat the slave with respect. Now, the thing here is that the Apostle Paul is addressing this in the same manner, right? Right? So servants, obey in all your masters, those you have sold yourself into servitude with, or that you have become servants to, right? Right? Don't do it with eye service. Don't do it when he's looking, make it seem like you're doing all of this when in actuality you're doing bare minimal. You're trying to give the appearance of something that's not actually real. Right? Right? You're not doing something as men pleasers. You're not just, hey master, I know you needed to do this. You want me to do that for you? You know, you want me to do that for you? With the idea of establishing yourself in the eyes of this master in order to be a man pleaser. Right? How do we say it you know them people that, you know what I'm talking about, right? Well, that's what it is. You don't do that. That's not what you do. Right? Because what you do as unto Yahuwah, because you have a fear and a reverence because you have his Ruach HaKodesh. Right? He said fearing Yahuwah with the singleness of heart. Right? The Ruach, the Wittness. Right? Fear of Yahuwah. You have that in the Ruach HaKodesh. The Ruach of wisdom, the Ruach of understanding, the Ruach of fear, the Ruach of Yahuwah, the Ruach of wisdom and understanding, the Ruach of counsel and of might, the Ruach of knowledge and the fear of Yahuwah. You have the Ruach of Yahuwah's fear and reverence. You got to do what you do in the Ruach, in the fear of the Ruach HaKodesh, the wisdom and all of it, right? So he says, and whatsoever ye do it heartily. Right? Do it heartily, right? Out of, from, or by way of, from your heart. Because why? Your heart is established in Yahuwah. Right? You have Yahuwah and Yahusha on the inside of you. You have the love of Yahuwah. Do what you do from your heart. He ain't talking about that emotional, fleshly thing. He's talking about the Ruach HaKodesh, which causes you to do things from your heart. All right. So, he says, and whatsoever ye do it heartily as unto Yahuwah. Do what you do as unto Adonai. Do what you do as unto Adonai and not unto men. Do what you do as unto Adonai Yahusha. Do what you do. Do what you do as unto Yahuwah. Do what you do as unto Yahuwah. As unto Adonai Yahusha. And not unto men. See, because listen, when you have received the witness of Yahuwah and Yahusha, that changes everything about you. It should change everything about you. It should change everything about you. And there are times even with your Ruach HaKodesh, and you have you have the spirit of Yahuwah and Yahusha on the inside of you. The enemy will sow a seed, try to sow a seed into you to sway you to a move or think a certain way. But the Ruach will say, no, don't you, no. Yeah, he will. Right? He says, knowing that of Adonai Yahusha, ye shall receive a reward, an inheritance. You have a reward. Listen. Yahuah is going to reward you. You have a reward in the Shamayim already. But Yahuah is going to reward what you do. Right? He's going to honor what you do. He's going to provide for you. He's going to open doors for you. He's going to create ways for you. Make ways for you. Or just open doors for you. Have people do things. Listen, let me tell you. Listen, I'm gonna tell you. I got these stories that Yahuah. I have these experiences in Yahuah that were ruachal. Right? Ruachal. Right? I was without a job. Right? My wife at the time had a job working in Naples. You know, we were living in Fort Myers, right? So she was commuting every day. You know, I was trusting you. I said, I need a job. You know, I'm trusting you for a job. And you know me, I strike out on foot because, you know, she got to have the car. She had to take the kids, right? So I strike out on foot, you know, and I'm walking. I walked to this one place, and they were looking for someone to work as an electrician or a support electrician, electrician helper, right? So, you know, my dad was an electrician, so, you know, I understand the ins and the outs of electrical work. You know, I never went to school or anything, but I did, right? So, you know, I go in, and, you know, there's this guy, there's a lady there at the desk, and then there's this guy. So, you know, I'm here about the electrical apprentice thing. She says, oh, okay, well, here, let me let you talk to the guy. So, you know, I went in, I talked to him, he was of the other nation, I walked in and we were talking. He's like, he said, wow. He says, well, I tell you, why should I hire you? Right? It was the Ruach HaKodesh, I'm telling you. I told him, I said, well, if you hire me, Yahuah is going to favor you. Your business is going to prosper. It's going to flourish. The man looked at me like, now listen, I'm educated, right? I ended up in Florida in faith. Listen, I'm telling you, I understand this Ruachal life. I understand what it means to move in the Ruach HaKodesh and in Emunah. Listen, I told that man that, right? He said to me, he looked at me, he said, you know what? I'm going to give you a job. He gave me the job, right? So I said, well, when do you want me to be here? He said, I want you to be here in the morning. Said, da-da-da. I'm like, okay. Well, you don't. I had to get dropped off like an hour early, right? Because it was on the way to where my wife was going. So, you know, she dropped me off an hour early. You know, the first time I was like, well, I'll walk. But damn, she's way too far of a walk, right? So she dropped me off early. So, you know, I was always the first one there waiting, right? You know, he opening up the gate, and I'm standing outside the gate waiting. So, you know, he opens up the gate. He says, oh, wow. He said, man, you're here early. I said, yeah, my wife works in Collier County, you know, and, you know, she drops me off, and, you know, I'm here early. You know, and I said, okay, it's no problem. You know, I'm working, I have a job. That's, you know, it's okay. So, you know, the guy looks at me, you know. So, you know, he brings me in, you know. He says, you know, listen, you know, so you know a little about electricity? I said, yeah, you know, my dad was a master licensed electrician. You know, I can't tell you that I know everything because I really don't. I can only tell you what I remember doing with him as a child. I said, okay, well, I'm going to start you out, you know, working with some guys, you know, and he had me out there, you know, and I was digging ditches. It didn't matter to me. I was working. Digging ditches. Because, you know, they laying pipe. I'm digging ditches, right? About a week go by, you know, and I'm out front. He says, listen, I got something I want to give you. I'm like, okay. So he rolls up the garage, and there's this 4-door, late model, VW Rabbit diesel. He said, listen, the car works perfect. You know, I want to give it to you. He says, and you just have to promise me that you'll never sell it. He said, you could give it away, but you can never sell it. I said, you going to give me a car? He said, yeah. Listen, man, give me a car. And, right, I worked for him I think 9 months, right? He got so many contracts, right? He was making, he got contracts. This is a small electrical company. He got contracts working for Sam's Clubs and all these major things. And he was making money. Just like you had said. Right? Just like he said. And I served this man. Right? I served him. I didn't care what ditches. It didn't matter. I did whatever he needed me to do. Because I was doing what I was doing unto Yahuah. Got a car out of the deal. Right? And I could remember, right? He says, listen, I want you to go to the apprentice. I want you to go to the school. I want you to be my apprentice. And he enrolled me in the school. I'm like, okay. So, I'm starting to take these electrical classes, right? But I applied to work for the Department of Corrections, right? So I got this opportunity to work for the state of Florida in law enforcement, which is what I was familiar with. And, but it would mean, and I had benefits, state benefits. And then it would mean that, I would, have to leave the electrical apprenticeship program thing he started. He wanted me to do. So I can remember coming to work, and I'm saying, listen, I got some news that I know you probably ain't going to be too happy with. He said, well, what is it? Because, he was always smiles with me. He was just, because, he was making it, right? So he says to me, he said, what is it? I said, well, listen, I need to take this job because it's going to give me benefits, and I need those health benefits for my daughter. And I appreciate the fact that, I've been working for you, and I appreciate everything you've done for me, but, I have to do this. And man, he was devastated. He was he just lost his cash cow. Yahuah told me to comfort him. Said, listen, because you bless me, Yahuah is going to continue to bless me as long as you do what is right. I told him. He said, listen, if you decide you want to come back, you can come back. You always have a place here. I said, I really thank you for everything you've done for me. You helped me get myself off and running, and I appreciate that. And I left the job under good pretenses. But I worked unto him as I worked unto Yahuah. And Yahuah, right? Yahuah rewarded me. He says, know that of Adonai ye shall receive the reward of the inheritance, for you serve Adonai Yahusha. You serve Adonai Yahusha Mashiach. Yahuah rewarded me. Excuse me. Yahuah has done that unto me several times throughout my life because I trusted his word. I received his Ruach HaKodesh. Listen. He says, but he that doeth wrong shall receive for wrong, which he hath done, and there is no respect of person. So, you have this employer that you steal from. You're going to suffer wrong. You have this employer that you do things to please men. Right? Right? You're going to suffer wrong. You're going to receive wrong. You're going to receive wrong. Be not deceived, Yahuah is not mocked. Whatsoever a man or a woman sows, that shall he also reap. Seed time harvest. Yahuah has caused me to reap because of how I have sown unto him. You know, it's interesting, right? This last job as the guardian that I had, I did everything as unto Yahuah. Right? Got there early, went beyond, prayed throughout the school, right? Taking authority, just operating in the Ruach, right? Kind to parents, to kids, right? And Yahuah said to me, it's time. I knew that there was going to be a shaking, right? But it had nothing to do with me. Right? And I know that there is going to be consequences for what was done unto me. Yahuah moved me, right? He did. Yahuah did. But Yahuah has a reason. Now, the administration is wicked. It is. It is. Because this is what he says in the 4th chapter. We're going to just go on because we're going to get through this pretty quick. He says, masters, employers, give unto your servants, those who work for you, those who serve you, right? That which is just and equal. He didn't want to do that. He didn't want to do that. He didn't want to do that. Yahuah knew he didn't. Knowing that ye also have a master in the Shamayim. But see, this is the thing. That's wicked. Right? Yahuah is going to judge that. Because that's wicked. Yahuah has blessed me and taken care of me. Right? Because I do what I do as unto Yahuah. I'm going to stand up for what's right. In the Torah, in the Masorah. Right? I'm going to do what is right. Right? He has a master in the Shamayim. And he ain't going to escape. Just not. He says, Masters, give unto your servants that which is just and equal. That which is just and equal. Knowing that ye also have a master in the Shamayim. Continue in prayer and watch in the same with thanksgiving. See now, a righteous man of Yahuah who has received the witness, right, will live by this. But you have to have received the witness. You have to have received the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach. You've had to have received the witness. You have to have received the witness, because if you haven't received the witness, right, you ain't going to do this. You ain't going to continue in prayer, watching unto the same with thanksgiving. He said, with all praying also for us, that Yahuah would open unto us a door of utterance, to speak the mysteries of Hamashiach, for which I am also in bondage. Listen, my prayer is that Yahuah would open up a door of utterance, right? That Yahuah would give me exactly what I need to take this Basora on the road to a community near you, to evangelize to Yasharal and Yahudah this Ruach witness that they must receive in order to make it. I'm praying that you would agree with me in prayer, that Yahuah would give me what I need to do what I need to do. And I ain't telling you what that is. Because Yahuah's going to do it. It's like he always has. It's like he's in a car. Like he gave me a house. Gave me jobs. Gave me an opportunity. Yahusha's given me houses on several occasions. House and riches are the inheritance of fathers. Prudent wife is from the Lord. I quoted that scripture for years, and I've seen the manifestation of it for years. See, because when you have the Ruach HaKodesh and you begin to speak the word of Yahuah with the Ruach HaKodesh, you quicken. You make alive that word. It's alive already because Yahuah's word is living and active. Sharper than any two-edged sword. But when you speak it with the authority of the Ruach HaKodesh, you cause those things that be not as though they were. Like Abraham, you stagger not at the promises of Yahuah through unbelief, but you're strong in emunah, being fully persuaded that what Yahuah had promised, he's well able to perform. See, listen, that's what I live. That's how 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 I live. Paul says, with all praying also for us. Pray for me, right? That Yahuah would open unto me a door of utterance to speak the mysteries of Hamashiach, the witness, the kingdom, the establishment of his kingdom in the earth, a witness. Right? Paul said, for which I am in bonds. Paul said, he's locked up. I ain't locked up. But I know I have the need in order to make this happen. Yeah. And I need your prayer. Yeah. I need your prayer. He says, listen, that I may make it manifested as I ought to speak. Listen, this has to be preached. After that, the Ruach HaKodesh has come upon you to be my witnesses. We need people witnessing and awakening to the bruised that are bruised that need to be quickened. He said, walk in wisdom towards them that are without. Walk in the Ruach HaKodesh, the Ruach of wisdom. Not your own wisdom. Come on, y'all. He ain't talking about walking in your wisdom. No, walk in the wisdom of the Ruach HaKodesh. For Yahuah has given you his Ruach HaKodesh. You bear in your body the witness. You have the Ruach of wisdom. Right? Walk in the Ruach of wisdom towards them that are without. Those who haven't received the Ruach HaKodesh, those who haven't received the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach. Walk in the wisdom of the Ruach HaKodesh when you're around these people. Redeeming the time. Don't let yourself be taken in idleness. Don't let yourself be caught up in wasting time. Right? You have the Ruach of wisdom. Use your wisdom to discern the condition that you are in with the people that you are with in order to be in a place to maximize yourself and not waste time. Because you got to redeem the time. He said, let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt. My prayer is that what I say does not cause anyone to be turned out of the way. What is spoken by the Ruach HaKodesh in me will cause no one to stumble, no one to come up lame. This is not about me. This is about Yahuah and Yahusha. And it's about the Basora of truth. And it's about waking up Yaakov and Yahudah. It's about quickening them, quickening the Gentiles, those who would receive the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach. That's what this is about. Let it be seasoned with salt, that ye may know how ye ought to answer every man. Let it be seasoned. You know, because salt is a seasoner. Salt gives you just the right amount of flavor when you don't put a lot on there. Just glaze, just season it. Right? It'll let you know how you need to answer every man. Right? With the Ruach of wisdom. Because you're talking about Ruach men. Let your speech right? Whosoever speaks, let it be worthy oracles of Elohiym. Whosoever serves, let him do so by the strength which Yahuah applied, so that Yahuah in Yahushua the Mashiach should receive all the glory and the honor. I'm not exactly sure if that's quoted exactly that way, but the intent is when you speak, let it be as worthy oracles of a Yahuah or Elohiym, right? Speaking in the Ruach HaKodesh of wisdom, using the Ruach HaKodesh of knowledge and understanding, the Ruach of counsel, knowing what to say, seasoned, knowing what to say, seasoned in the Ruach HaKodesh, knowing what to say, knowing what to say, knowing what to say in the Ruach, seasoned, so that you know how to give an answer to every man. Be slow to be slow to speak and swift to hear. Listen, and then trust the Ruach HaKodesh of wisdom. Excuse me. Then allow what the Ruach HaKodesh of wisdom has to say to every man. Right? Now, Paul goes on and talks about, he says, he starts offering salutations. He says, all my state shall Tychicus declare to you, a beloved brother and a faithful minister and fellow servant of Yahuah, of Adonai, whom I have sent unto you for the same purpose, that he might know your estate and comfort your heart. So Paul is sending Tychicus, right, to find out how the church of Colossae is doing, and he's letting them know that he's sending them because he's faithful, right? And he wants to know what their estate of their, know the estate and to comfort your heart, right? And he says, with Nymphas, a faithful and beloved brother who is of you, which means, it could mean of Colossae, or it could be of the Gentiles, right? They shall make known unto you all things which are done here, or all things here. So you're going to let them know what's going on here. Right. He says, and Archippus, my fellow prisoner, because he ain't locked up with him, salute you, and Marcus, sister's son of Barnabas, touching whom ye receive commandments. If he comes unto you, receive him. So he said, listen, if he come to you and he give you some commandments, receive him, because he's coming, right? He's recommended. He's recommended, right? He's the nephew of Barnabas, Marcus' sister, son to Barnabas, or it's Barnabas' sons, right? Right? Receive him. He says, Barnabas, touching whom ye receive commandments, if he comes unto you, receive him. So, if he comes unto you, he's going to give you some commandments. Receive his commandments. Right? Now, listen, he ain't giving you no commandments. He ain't giving no commandments other than what Yahuah and Yahusha would have given him. He don't give him the same thing that the Apostle Paul would give. Right? He's not coming up with some new commandments. Same Torah, same Besorah. You know, he's just going to tighten some stuff up. Listen, he says, and Yahusha, which is called justice, right? Who are of the circumcision, these only my fellow workers unto the kingdom of Elohiym. These are the only people that I'm recommending of the kingdom of Elohiym, right? They are the only fellow workers unto the kingdom of Elohiym. The kingdom of Elohiym is receiving the witness, and receiving the witness, receiving the Ruach HaKodesh, right, which establishes you in the kingdom. He says, fellow worker unto the kingdom of Elohiym, which have been a comfort unto me. They doing the work, and they've been a comfort unto me. They're able to go places and I'm not, because I'm locked up. Locked up in these chains. I'm in these bonds. I can't go nowhere. Right? I'm on house arrest. Can't go nowhere. Can't leave. But they can go on my behalf because they fellow workers and I trust them. Right? They ain't like them Judaizers trying to tell you you got to be circumcised, and if you ain't circumcised, then you don't have a right to participate in the feast days. You don't have a right to participate in you got to be circumcised. They ain't like them. They ain't like them. He says, Ephorus, who is one of you, a servant of Hamashiach, salute you. Because you remember Ephorus, we had him in the beginning, where Paul had mentioned Ephorus, having told him of the church of Colossae. Right? He said, Ephorus, who is one of you, a servant of Hamashiach. So he's a Gentile too. Right? So when Paul says one of you, he's referencing Gentiles. Right? So when he says, with our Nymphas, with Nymphas, a faithful and beloved brethren, who is one of you, he's referencing Gentiles, right? Because he says it here in the 4th chapter, the 12th verse, Ephorus, who is one of you, right? And Ephorus, we knew that Ephorus was a Gentile that brought Paul word in reference to the church of Colossae and how, they demonstrated the love of Yahuah and they've received the Ruach. Paul was like, well, okay, we're going to pray that you receive the Ruach of wisdom and revelation, right? So that's what he was saying. So Nymphas is one of you, a servant of Mashiach, right? Salute you always, laboring fervently for you in prayer, that ye may stand perfect, mature, and complete in all the will of Elohiym. Listen, I just need me some people to go pray that for me. Woo! Listen. Hallelujah. That's love for the brethren. He praying for his fellow Gentiles. He says, for I bear him record that he haveth a great zeal for you. He said, I'm witnessing to the fact that he just loves you. He loves you. And them that are in Laodikeia, and them at Hierapolis, right? And these are territories outside of Colossae, cities outside of Colossae. He said, Luke, the beloved physician, and Demas greet you. So Luke is there with him, right? And Demas, right? So he mentioned in them, right? He said, salute the brethren which are in Laodikeia and Nymphas, and in the assemblies which are in his house, right? So he holding assemblies in his house. All you need is 2 or 3. You don't need no mega church. All you need is 2 or 3. All you need is 2 or 3 people who want to come together and worship Yahuah, because Yahuah going to be in the midst. An assembly in his house. Now, you got to know who house you in. You got to know that the person that you entering into his house, he has a Ruach HaKodesh, and that he has the witness of Yahusha and Yahuah. Right? He says, And when this epistle is read among you, cause that it be read also in the church of Laodicea, and that ye likewise read the epistle from the Laodiceans. So there's a letter going to them, and there's a letter to you. You read their letter and let them read your letter, right? He says when the epistle is read among you, right, in Colossus, cause it to be read to the church of the Laodiceans, right? And that ye likewise read the epistle from Laodicea. So you read the one I'm giving to you to them, and let them read you read the one I gave to them to you. Right? That's what he says, church. The epistle, right? He says, and say unto Archippus, take heed to the ministry which thou hast received in Yahuah, that you fulfill it. See, listen, ain't nobody gonna tell me, listen, I'm gonna do what Yahuah tell me to do. I'm gonna fulfill the ministry. Listen, I woke up this morning and I was praying, and I was just praying in the Ruach. I was praying in the Ruach, and then I was praying with my understanding, and I was praying in the Ruach, and I was praying in the understanding. And Yahuah, it was just so heavy on me. I'm like, Yahuah, right? Yahuah, help me to fulfill the ministry that you have called me to fulfill. Help me to reach the people that you have caused me to reach. Take me where I need to be. Show me where I need to go. Let me know what I need to do. Yahuah, let me do your work. Don't let me leave this earth having not completed the work. I have to complete the work. I have to complete, Yahuah, I have to complete the work. Yahuah, I have to complete the work. Don't let me leave without fulfilling the work. That's what I have to do. Paul says, take heed to the ministry which thou hast received of Yahuah, that you fulfill it. I am going to preach to you that you need to receive the witness, man of Yahuah, woman of Yahuah, called to greatness. I am going to declare this besorah of truth, that you need to receive this witness. I got to fulfill it. Then finally in the 18th verse, the salutation by the hands of me, Paul. Remember my bonds. Grace be with you. Amein. So Paul is saying, listen, remember that I'm locked up. Keep me in your prayers. Let me know your condition. Let me understand what's going on in the midst of you, so that I can better be of service to you. I can send people to you. I can send you a word and letter, right? And hopefully I will be able to come to you again myself. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, this is what this is about. This is it. This is what this is about. Yahuah, I pray in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach that the words you have given me, that they would receive them. I pray that they would keep them. Yahuah, I recognize that this word is not for everybody. But Yahuah, I pray in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach for those that are to receive this besorah, this Torah, let them receive it in emunah and quicken it in them. Yahuah, in the name of Yahusha, for the words that you have given me, I've given them. And I'm praying that they would receive it. Now, Yahuah, I pray that those who have not received the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach in its entirety, Yahuah, the Ruach HaKodesh, the water and the blood, that you would make this reality available to them in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach. Yahuah, I pray that they would receive this besorah of truth, that they would receive the gift of the Ruach HaKodesh, that they would receive this, the witness, in the Shamayim, you, Abba, the witness, the word, Yahusha, and the witness, the Ruach HaKodesh, Yahuah, that they would receive this witness, this Basora, this Torah, Yahuwah. I'm praying in the name of Yahusha Mashiach. I pray, Yahuwah, for those that may be sick among me. Yahuwah, I pray that you would heal them, that you would touch them in their bodies. Yah, that you would touch them in their bodies, Yahuwah, in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, that you would set the captives free, Yahuwah, that you would bless and open doors in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach. For you declare that the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the just, and that sinners have the task of gathering it to hand it over to us, Yahuwah. Start to hand over this treasure of darkness, this hidden riches of secret places. Yahuwah, hand it over to your people. Yahuwah, I trust you. I believe in you. I depend on you. I know your word is true, and I give you praise. You let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, Yahuwah, my strength and my redeemer. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, called to greatness. Woman of Yahuwah, beautifully and wonderfully made. Listen, today Yahuwah's favored you. Take heed to the ministry that Yahuwah has given you. Take heed to what Yahuwah has told you to do and fulfill it. If you need the Ruach HaKodesh, ask and receive it. If you need to understand the witness of Yahusha, ask and receive it. Listen, make sure that you fulfill the ministry which Yahuwah has called you to. And with that, I say, shalom, shalom, shalom.
Torah Garden, speaking the absolute truth. Torah Nation.